Today, I'm going to tell you about the story of Pikmin. I will be covering everything from its humble beginnings to the recently announced Pikmin 4. I hope you will join me on this multi-dimensional exploration. Do you know what Pikmin is? Oh, Pikmin? Yeah, I know what that is. It's like this franchise where you control these like sort of bug-like ant creatures. There are a bunch of different ones. They have like different abilities. There's red, blue and yellow, purple and white. And then there's like a pink one that has wings, and one that's just kind of like a rock. And then there's the Bulbin. The whole appeal of the franchise is that in most games you're under a strict time limit that makes you carefully plan out your decisions. You want to explore the areas efficiently and return to your base before the sun sets, as when a day ends, any unaccounted for Pikmin are consumed by nocturnal predators, which is kind of bad because they die. It would be impossible to talk about Pikmin without mentioning its dad, Shigeru Miyamoto, the creator of Super Mario Bros., Donkey Kong, and The Legend of Zelda. For the past 40 years, Pikmin has been his pet project. He's the public face of the franchise and has a dog named after Pikmin, so you know he's serious. Yeah, I guess that's enough introductions. This is Pikmin. If we are talking about the history of Pikmin, it makes sense to start the first title, Pikmin for the Atari 2600. This game, although quite primitive nowadays, was a graphical marvel for the time. Released in 1979, this groundbreaking title was the first to include a mermaid. Yes, a mermaid. Developed by the Japanese game studio Nintendo following the breakout success of their arcade hit Monkey Magic, Pikmin was an attempt to capitalize on the animal-centric theming found in that title. Instead of pulling from conventional animals, artist Shigeru Miyamoto brought in the idea of a twisted version of our own reality being the setting, creating the famous Pikmin and Bulborb as parallels to real-life ants and anteaters. In a press release for the title, Miyamoto stated his excitement. "If the children love animals, imagine how much they will love silly animals." The game was released to high praise from critics, but sold below expectations. It lives on as a cult classic of the era. The unique Bulborb animations. Following the game's release, Nintendo moved on to other projects, like the massive epic Radar Scope, and Pikmin was mostly forgotten by most of the company. In 1996, after another large absence from the video game world, Pikmin returned, but not in the way you'd think. It would resurface as a radio drama for Nintendo's Japan-only Satellaview service. For a brief time, the radio drama, BS Pikmin, Little Sucka, was available for download. After this moment, Little Sucka was never seen, or rather, never heard from again. Such a limited release has resulted in many having forgotten Little Sucka, with this brief Japanese broadcast being his only glistening moment in the sun. Not many remember this odd experiment, but Shigeru Miyamoto recalls it fondly. With the limited sounds capable from the Atari video game computer console, I was disappointed with how I couldn't make Pikmin sound the way I imagined in my head. With BS Pikmin Little Sucka, my dream became a reality. I recorded the broadcast using a tape deck and listened to it many times. On some nights I could only sleep if the soothing sounds were on. My tinnitus is acting up again. I'm going to take a bath. 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 I'm going to take a bath tomorrow morning at the dawn. Break of dawn. In the year 1998, Fox, looking at the nominal success of The Simpsons, was hoping to broaden its profitable animation division. Part of that venture included commissioning animated pilots from various reputable industry figures. Case in point is 1998's lost Pikmin pilot titled Middle-Aged Man. This obscure cartoon followed Captain Olimar, a reserved yet effective leader who managed the Pikmin first seen in the 2600 classic. Along for the ride was his oaf-like friend, Louie, who uses his capitalistic power to fulfill his strange culinary-related desires. Despite Louie's problems, the bond between him and Olimar was the heart of the show, capturing that beautiful moment of working the 9 to 5 before winding down with the cold one. Miyamoto, who spearheaded this pilot, wanted to use a more Western style, writing the show to be like an animated sitcom, leading to the contentious direction the pilot ended up in. Backlash was received from people on all fronts. Fox thought the show wouldn't bode well with its audience, who reportedly hated cartoons. Fans of the 2600 game were furious, as Olimar was never a character in any previous forms of Pikmin media. An early online petition formed around the project, titled, "We don't like old people, make them go away, I hate old people." Miyamoto included Olimar in the first place in hopes for the character to persuade Fox, as he thought the character's everyman appeal would get through to them. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, and Fox unceremoniously shelved the project, opting instead for Seth MacFarlane's Family Guy, which had a similar premise without much of the fantastical elements the Pikmin pilot brought forward. For this reason, Miyamoto has refused to watch Family Guy to this day, stating as such in an interview with Cartoon Sex Monthly, "I hate that stupid Peter Griffin. He ruined my Pikmin pilot, and for what? An ungrateful family of cartoon troglodytes? I choose to think that not all Americans are like this." Fans displeased with the direction the Pikmin series seemed to be going wouldn't have to wait long for a new entry. Although just as what came before it, Pikmin for Nintendo GameCube would be a whole different beast. Toting impressive 3D graphics, this new version of Pikmin completely revolutionized the formula. Olimar from the animated pilot returned, acting as a cursor of sorts for navigating this new world. Like the Atari game, you still primarily collected items, and had an army of Pikmin characters, although that army could be supersized to a gargantuan 100 units. This title featured real-time strategy gameplay, as you had to complete all of your tasks completely before the sun set. The idea for this large number of units came from a tech demo titled Mario 128. A silly showcase of the Nintendo GameCube's ability to process over 100 unique AI characters at a time. The project was set to continue as planned before Miyamoto objected to its continuation, stating as such, "There were these programmers for the Nintendo GameCube console that showed me this interesting demo. There were 128 different Marios running around, doing silly tasks as the level they were on twisted and morphed around. It was quite fun, and I was constantly laughing while playing it. But I felt that Mario should not be in it. There's only one Super Mario. I worried that consumers would feel that more than one Mario would dilute the brand name, so I asked the developers to take their AI work and use the stagnated Pikmin IP." Your mission was to collect the 30 ship parts in order to help Olimar rocket back to his home planet. Unlike the last few attempts at revitalization, the peckish Pikmin fanbase were very excited for this GameCube title. Despite the dreaded Olimar character setting center stage, many were intrigued with the new gameplay and impressive graphics. Pikmin launched to good reviews and mild sales. Personally speaking, Pikmin is one of my favorite GameCube games. Despite its rudimentary nature in some aspects, the game sticks out by creating an authentic feeling, naturalistic atmosphere that could never be replicated. The bosses are laid out in the levels so unobtrusively, it's one of the most organic feeling virtual worlds I've ever explored. The lack of distractions sucks me into the world like no other. My personal highlight is the distant spring. This serene yet tricky final main destination makes for such a strange yet emotionally stirring area. It's the bittersweet reverence of a tough final area that also coaxes you into a false sense of security, so you take your time to soak in its beauty, as the clock rudely ticks towards its final few climaxes. Pikmin's world strikes an amazing balance, where it's rich with details, but none are too distracting to get in your way too much if you want to blaze through it. and you'll want to blaze through it. Running through and collecting all 30 ship parts over and over again is always a fun time. It seemingly never gets old, as you can always be just a little more efficient. These elements are very effective at conveying a bunch of interesting themes. One of the most peculiar is the struggle's connection to war. If the player acts carelessly, their Pikmin will fall in battle, whether by bad strategic decisions, leaving them for dead at dawn, or from obstacles the player is unfamiliar with. The humanization of the Pikmin makes their first few deaths heartbreaking. It's all your fault. Why would you do such a thing? Fascinatingly, after a while, the emotional effect of Pikmin death weakens considerably, as the frequent of tragedy rips humanity from your pals. The Pikmin are well aware of the gruesome consequences, but follow Olimar, betting it all to contribute to a greater good, that being the sustaining of the Pikmin species. When Olimar first discovers these guys, they're on the brink of extinction. Their natural predator, the Bulborb, freely roams the land and easily trounce unmanaged Pikmin. The tables turn when you play smart, relying on strength in numbers or by sneaking up on its back and tossing your friends for a ninja attack. In the ending cutscene, you see a group of Pikmin fight a Bulborb without commands, learning from their experiences with Olimar and saving their species. The hard limits of 30 days and 30 ship parts with non-linear progression makes this process infinitely fresh, a perfected art that the Pikmin series would retain for the rest of its life. Accompanying Pikmin for Nintendo GameCube's release was a single from the band Strawberry Flower. Strawberry Flower was a group made up entirely of Pikmin. No humans were involved, I believe. Their first single, I No Uta, was a hit in Japan, landing second place on the chart and outselling the game it was tied to. After a few more singles, including 2002's Pikmin Dance, the group became independent from Nintendo, sporadically dishing out tunes as recent as 2015. Let's talk about the bread bug. My lord. Bread bug, give me a sip of mug. Bread bugs are these enigmatic mammals that resemble wheat's finest forms. The species has been seen frequently throughout the Pikmin series, between its crumb-size, regular bread bug mode, and jumbo bread variant. These creatures covet the objects Pikmin captains equally desire, aggressively dragging them hostage to their dens. They only become vaguely hostile when Pikmin try to coax the objects of their desire. What must be done is a tug of war, and an all-out assault as your Pikmin wrestle to bring the bread bug's favorite toy back to the onion. Upon reaching home base, the beast will be slayed. I'm particularly interested in the oversized giant variant seen within the caves of Pikmin 2. What a monster. This evolution further carves out the loaf-like shape of this beautiful creature, glued to the core. I appreciate all things about the bread bug, a charming creature that plays by its own rules. Let's listen to a few of the famous bread bug sounds. Within the Piclopedia archive, Louis states this about the bread bug's taste, or lack thereof. Although cooking this colossal beast yields a mountain of meat, every ounce of it is flavorless, only suitable for intergalactic all-you-can-eat buffets. This description of bountiful yet bland meat reminds me of the recounts people had when describing dodo bird meat, bland, hard meat that will do in a pinch. Perhaps there are more connections between the specimens, as both seem to effortlessly attract my attention. The first Pikmin game I ever laid eyes on was Pikmin 2, the 2004 sequel to Pikmin for Nintendo GameCube. Circa 2013, I found this game at a yard sale, alongside a lot of seminal GameCube hits. Super Monkey Ball, Metroid Prime, Mario Party 7, Super Smash Bros. Melee. Being the Nintendo nut I've always been, I didn't let that opportunity go to waste, and took my first taste of the sacred cow that is the GameCube library. I remember getting all of these games on my old backwards compatible Wii that I received for Christmas in 2010, alongside the copy of Luigi's Mansion that I found in a dumpster at GameStop. The GameCube has always had a special place in my heart. Among those titles were one that I could never quite conquer. That would be Pikmin 2. As a kid, I tried over and over to understand the Pikmin series gameplay. It was scary for me, not knowing what I was supposed to do. When looking into the game online, I quickly realized that my struggle to grasp the basics would only be the start to the demands Pikmin 2 makes of the player, as Pikmin 2 is an oddball sequel that does not mess around. Because of this dissonance, Pikmin 2 is the last mainline game I tackled, far after the entries it sandwiched in between. In Pikmin 2, your primary goal is to collect 10,000 Pokos by way of alien treasures scattered across PNF 404. Unlike the ship parts of Pikmin 1, a majority of these treasures aren't in plain sight and must be found in underground caves. These caves are the central cosmic shift Pikmin 2 brings to the table. Unlike the overworld, you cannot reproduce Pikmin, and you must reach the final floor in order to collect the spoils of battle. To compensate for this challenge, time is frozen, and you are free to use as many in-game days as you like. These caves are no joke, as enemies will relentlessly whittle down your Pikmin population by crushing, exploding, burning, and electrocuting your little friends into an early grave. Some of these methods are truly soul-shattering, like when a bomb falls down from the sky, or when a creature flicks your Pikmin to a bottomless pit. The relentless difficulty colors how you approach Pikmin 2, as most offensive-leaning strategies usually lead to irreversible casualties. Sometimes the best tactics are to solemnly scout the area and see what enemies can be whittled down by Olimar's weak melee attack, before risking the well-being of your squad. Much of my time playing Pikmin 2 was frustratingly conservative, as I forcefully held myself back from using all of the fun new gameplay elements and Pikmin types, out of fear that I'd expend too many resources and have to return to the SS Dolphin empty-handed. Perhaps the gameplay loop is similar to the capitalism the game's story pokes fun at, with the harsh reality of economics creating a bubble of sustainability that is nigh fun or satisfying to navigate, but continues to remain the most effective. Personally, I think that this shift in structure loses Pikmin 2 much of the inherent charm present in the first title. Unlike the overworld, the caves are procedurally generated and have erratic, nonsensical theming. Comparing this lack of design and lo-fi feel to the organic beauty of Pikmin 1 makes one yearn for the forefathers' approach. Despite this and the gameplay gripes I've bemoaned, Pikmin 2 finds worth in other ways, and carves its own path. Pikmin 2 may sometimes lack a certain naturalistic beauty, but the caves can be desolate and scary in the same way the unpredictable nature from the first game could be, with the gigantic dark walls of rust or peculiar shower theming. The caves are immensely experimental in their presentation, with many having strange music or enemies lining their floors. My favorite aspects of Pikmin 2 are its inventive contributions to the Pikmin lore and general ethos. Contributions that not for the caves may have never been conceived. White Pikmin, Purple Pikmin, the Water Wraith, Louis, the President, and his shiny golden head. All amazing additions that have become iconic adjacent to the trail blazed by Pikmin 1. My absolute favorite contribution Pikmin 2 brought forward with the clay models that were used for the game's marketing. These models are absolutely fantastic, and perfectly capture the quirky yet grounded nature of the Pikmin world. To this day, I still see this as the definitive depiction of the Pikmin characters, as the simple texture of clay creates a timeless feel that will never be outdated. Many who are more skilled than I prefer Pikmin 2 over the first game. They see its difficulty as a high skill ceiling that must be broken through. For them, I respect that. I too admire the game's boldness and ambition. But even now, after collecting every treasure the game had to offer, I have never been able to shake off the initial sense of unease. Maybe that's a good thing. Perhaps it means I still have ample room to grow. But for me, that illustrious feeling of core understanding may forever be unobtainable. Having first purchased the baseball team in the ripe year of 1992, many are unaware that for quite a long time, Nintendo of America owned the Major League Baseball team, known as the Seattle Mariners. Some may wonder why there hasn't been much crossover between the video game giant's iconic characters and their lucrative baseball venture. I believe the reason for this is the now infamous Louie controversy. It all started back in late 2004. To promote Pikmin 2, Nintendo of America used its baseball lineup to make commemorative crossover merch, dressing newcomer Louie with a traditional Seattle Mariners jersey. This crossover was inspired by the iconic Louie song that would play during 7th inning games, a Mariners staple that had been around since 1990. The merch was sold at games throughout the 2004 season, being phased out with the year. Despite this stunt's harmless nature, it seems that this little promotion must have stirred the pot on both sides of the outfield. Ever since, Nintendo has never used its team for crossover promotion, even selling its dominant portion of shares during the summer 2016 season. Conspicuously, 1 month later, the two-dimensional side-scroller Hey Pikmin was announced for 3DS, releasing the following year with not even a peep from Louis. It's not a stretch to say that the two events are connected. Was this baseball team keeping the lovable pear-shaped man hostage? Perhaps. Adding fuel to the flames, during the 2022 season, the Seattle Mariners betrayed fans by replacing the classic tune Louie Louie with Can't Hold Us by Macklemore, a song that is only heard as grocery store music. While this move reportedly enraged fans,
obviously, fan reaction is mixed.
No! It's Louie!
and really hurt poor Broccoli Man's feelings,
I have not processed this all the way yet.
I believe there might have been an ulterior motive to this controversial decision, as mere months after the shakeup, Pikmin 4 was finally revealed for Nintendo Switch. It is currently unknown if Louis will make an appearance in this title, but if he does, you will know how he got there. Around 2005, legendary game designer Shigeru Miyamoto adopted a puppy.
This is our dog.
He named the dog Pick, telling his family that the name was derived from a guitar pick.
Now, if you look at his face, it looks kind of like a guitar pick. So we named him Pick.
We all know that this is 100% false. Shigeru should cut out the fibbing.
And he sleeps on a better mattress than I do.
The imaginative world of Pikmin seems especially acute for outside interpretation, as the Pikmin series is some of the most incredible fan creations I've ever seen. Just about any medium you can think of has been done with our special little friends. Too many to cover in this video, but I thought I'd highlight some awe-inspiring LEGO projects, as LEGO is one of my favorite artistic mediums. My personal favorite LEGO Pikmin project is Philippe Johannes Velberg's LEGO Pikmin project, a 3-year endeavor where Philippe lovingly recreated just about every enemy from Pikmin 2, as well as many other famous Nintendo characters, within the medium of LEGO. His models are so fantastic, and completely utilize the charm of both LEGO and Pikmin. The bold, simple colors and blocky geometry make me squirm a bit, but in a good way. Some of my particular favorites are Muda Muda, the enormous Emperor Bulbex model, and the hairy Bulborb, which incorporates real fur. Another fantastic LEGO-related fan project was Useless Unit's Pikmin LEGO Ideas pitch. This one, being put together in 2021, uses modern pieces, opting for a minifigure size scale. Designs also have a distinctly more cartoony look. The Onion especially looks absolutely beautiful in the style, with its clear top filled with studs. Units even made some brick films using the LEGO models that I recommend you check out. Aside from these personal favorites, there are loads of LEGO Pikmin projects out there, on YouTube especially. It's very heartwarming to see so many young and up-and-coming creators inspired by two especially imaginative worlds. Pikmin and LEGO were such a great combination, like nut butter and warmed strawberry jam. I first played Pikmin 3 in 2018, a good while after failing to get into the groove with Pikmin 2. It wasn't exactly a romantic first encounter, as I purchased the title at GameStop with little more drive than to chip off another block from my Wii U. Despite the baggage, I decided to give the game a fair shake. On the first orbit, I quite enjoyed myself. I found the motion controls for aiming intuitive, and the Go Here mechanic a stroke of genius. An amazing tool for efficiently keeping track of 3 liters, something that on the onset I thought would be impossible for myself to do. Every so often after this I would return to the game, replaying the fun story and honing in my skills. At some point, a switch in my brain flipped, and the true depth of Pikmin 3 became clear to my eyes. Pikmin 3 is a wellspring of creativity, impeccable game design, and satisfying strategic gameplay. Knocking down walls, building bridges, fighting enemies, it all feels so good to pull off. I'd posit to say that its gameplay loop is the medium's most rewarding. No matter how much I play it, it never ceases to be incredibly engaging. Slowly growing to understand and overturn such an initially scary and hostile environment into a militantly scavenged game board of tasks and objectives. It's the process of making order from chaos. I am not an organized person. If you look at the erratically stacked pile of trinkets in my room, you'd immediately find that clear. Pikmin is an environment where I'm able to be organized, where its gameplay elements and tools can help me carefully place a few ducks into a tidy little row. During the development of Zelda The Wind Waker, Miyamoto would always tell the staff that Nintendo values reality over realism. What this means is that Nintendo designs games that feel like real life even if they don't look particularly realistic. Although Pikmin 3 accomplishes both reality and realism, the former is what makes it so special. During the pandemic, I'd play the game frequently as a peek into a world where disorganized messes could be triumphed over. And for that, I will be forever grateful. Pikmin 3, like its predecessors, is a game about current issues viewed through the lens of their future consequences. The story involves a crew from planet Kopai and their intergalactic struggle to find edible matter, as their home planet's natural resources dwindle to an exhaustion. Much like Pikmin 2, this is a blunt allusion to a real-world issue caused by industrialization. Also like Pikmin 2, the gameplay sells this element far more than the intro movie. In Pikmin 3, you have a limited amount of juice that is required to continue playing for in-game days. For each bottle in your possession, you are allowed one more day of exploration. The juice can be replenished by finding one of the many hidden fruits throughout the levels, as the game designers are basically pairing the two central goals of Pikmin for GameCube, collection and efficiency, into one tidy resource. There is this memorable sequence where Louise steals all of the Kopite's juice supply, resetting the buffer of days down to 0, as the player must hastily scavenge for enough fruit to survive the night before sunset. On a thematic level, this system is also efficient, as it may initially seem that the juice is incredibly limited, but with enough conservation and care, it can become so plentiful that you don't even think about running out. I like this because it shows parallels to our real world in a clever way. It's easy to think that it's too late for us, or that the damage is completely irreversible. Pikmin 3 tells us that with enough effort and synergy, we can resuscitate. Even from the brink of exhaustion, we should never give up hope. If one was to look back to the days of Pikmin 3 pre-release hype, one thing would be certain.
So in Pikmin 3 now, you can attack the Bulborb right on his eye. Precisely.
The Bulborb's eyes are its weakest point.
Don't attack my eye.
Forget the back. That's old news. At every chance possible, Miyamoto has mentioned this incredible weakness.
So these simple and intuitive controls make it possible to target and throw Pikmin at enemy eyes or shells, and it adds more strategic depth when battling.
Shigeru wants us to know this, as it is very important.
Oh, I can't believe he beat me. I'm better than him.
Okay. Thank you for watching battle. I win. Thank you.
Look at what point Miyamoto is attacking the Whip-Tongue Bulborb. It shouldn't surprise you.
He's throwing the red Pikmin right at the enemy's eyes, which sort of blinds it and prevents it from attacking.
In general, Miyamoto goes ham every time he mentions Pikmin. His infectious, undying enthusiasm for the Pikmin series is a beautiful thing to behold.
But they're actually a little kind of scary because we have no idea what they're actually thinking. They may come and carry me away in the middle of the night.
Now let's talk about the Pikmin short movies. This is potentially the most viewed piece of Pikmin media. I'm serious. On YouTube, the views these things have gotten are insane. But the deeper you go, the crazier it gets. Not only do they have more than 1 million views, but that number gets higher and higher when you pull in the views between all of the different regions and random side channels like Play Nintendo. In total, this is how many views these shorts have. In total, that is easily more than 200 million views between all uploads of this one animation, which is absolutely insane. Maybe one day this video will get 200 million views. We wouldn't have to wait long for the next Pikmin short film, although this one wouldn't be animated. Released in 2015, the They Are Between the Cushions is a short film that shows a dilapidated couch with a rock Pikmin creeping around it. The scene is quite dingy and desolate, reminiscent of the caves from Pikmin 2. Before this was released, Miyamoto claimed that it was actually animated, even going as far to claim that the footage was showcasing how the raw power of the Wii U could create such lifelike landscapes. It is unknown if this statement was a joke or not. It used to be perfect. Everyone would sit on it. Rain comes. I came back and the couch was a little bit different. Rain comes. The cushions were shredded. I want to go home. Leave it all behind. I've got a sofa at home. Just to see a peek of what was lost. Now there's a broken barbecue and a locked door. I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed. Just sits and sits and sits. Rain comes. It's all the same. Many remember the rock scene from the 2022 film Everything Everywhere All at Once. The touching moment where Evelyn and Joy have a conversation in an alternate universe where the Earth is not inhabitable by human life. Later in the film, we see these rocks with the signature googly eyes that are seen as a symbol throughout the film, but in an earlier draft, they went one step further. These lovable rocks were actually supposed to be Pikmin. In fact, in some releases of the movie, they are still Pikmin. The Daniels have gone on record saying that although they love rock Pikmin, they didn't want the reference to distract from the serious dialogue-based scene. They got around this hurdle by only showing the rocks as Pikmin if you were watching the movie on the Wii U. The obscurity of this fact and the dwindling avenues to watch video content on the Wii U have kept this fact as a well-hidden secret. But I'm giving you the keys to the kingdom for watching the definitive version of this modern classic. Pikmin 4 in the future. After a decade-long gap between entries, Pikmin 4 is finally coming to Nintendo Switch in 2023. Like the Wii U masterpiece that preceded it, the wait for this title has been arduous. Although this release pattern is nothing new for the franchise. I can't say for certain that Pikmin 4 will encapsulate every aspect I covet, but given the series' consistently phenomenal track record, I now have to worry. The Pikmin franchise has never been a particularly high priority over at Nintendo. That doesn't mean it's ever forgotten. Pikmin fans are never truly alone, both in part because of Nintendo's sporadic side developments, and because of the many faithful who vicariously keep the beauty alive. Perhaps the reason I love talking about Pikmin so much is because the games seem to speak back. Every main title has tackled issues through its own unique lens. Our perception of reality, the toxic dangers of war, the cold grip of capitalism, the death of our planet's resources. Somehow, Pikmin continues to make these dark topics fun and playful, without demeaning their importance. Not in the name of nihilism, but in that of presenting hope, to show that if we all work together, any issue can be surmounted. Pikmin has made me realize much about myself. It's made me ask so many questions. My favorite ones tend to circle back, bestowing answers. Why do we continue the endless struggle presented by life? Why do we climb the uphill battle against forces out of our control? Without words, Pikmin presents the solution. It's the hunt for the slumbering beauty that surrounds us all. The sleeping Pikmin who silently rests in the mud, out of sight until you pluck him with your own hands. I know that it's dangerous to keep going, but for this I must continue. For no matter how bad things can get, there will always be a treasure worth looking for. Pikmin loves sleeping. Pikmin love sleeping.